Hello, my beautiful people. Happy Friday. We are in the final stretch. This is the last day of our amazing challenge, day 5. I hope everybody had a good week. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes for people to log on. So when you're logging on, say hey, comment. If you're logging on later, make sure you hashtag replay. So for the drawing of who will win the free 30-minute session with me, I am going to, everybody that participated and that's commenting on the videos and engaging and, being a part of it for every single day, I'm going to enter your name I'm going to basically pick it at random. So I'll put it into a hat, mix it all up, and then I'll pick somebody. But I'm going to give you guys until, I'm thinking like Tuesday, that I'll do the drawing on Tuesday, and I'll say who won on Tuesday evening, because I want to give some people time to catch up on the videos that they maybe didn't see. And if maybe there was some videos that you didn't participate on, you can go back through and you can comment, and you can show your active participation. Hey John, thanks for joining. And then that will, like I said, enter you into the drawing to win the free 30-minute session with me. So catch up. That's right. We catch up in mustard here. Catch up on all those old videos. So I hope that everybody's been applying everything that we've been learning here in this 5-day challenge. Today, we're going to talk about some more tools, and we're going to talk about acting as though. So I'm sure people may have probably heard of The Secret, but basically there's 3 parts to The Secret, right? It's ask, believe, and then receive. So you ask, like basically what we just did, writing it on paper, right? And then you believe that it's coming to you. You have that faith, you believe, and then you receive. So you just open yourself up to know that it's already in your frequency. You've already brought it towards you by putting it out into the atmosphere and by taking those little action steps that we were talking about in the other days. So being open to receiving. What we're doing here is we're continuing to reprogram the subconscious. This is a day-to-day commitment, like we said. This is something that it's like peeling away layers. I always like to think of life, and especially the healing journey, as this big giant spiral. And we're constantly on the spiral, but when we get to new layers, we're in a new, so if it was like spiraling, let's say upward, because we're going up, right? Spiraling upward, then you're on a new part of the spiral. And so it's like you're dealing with the same lessons and you're dealing with the same things that are happening to you, but you're on the slightly, you're up one level, right? And then you keep doing that and keep doing that. So this is about reprogramming those neural pathways. Other ways, aside from the ways that we talked about for reprogramming the subconscious, are to do shadow work. Oh, doesn't that sound like so much fun? No, but really, shadow work is not something to be intimidated of, because it is really something that is so, so amazing and that leaves you feeling so free on the other side. Shadow work is something that I utilize in my programs. It's definitely something that's been a really big part of my journey. There's so many tools out there for shadow work, but basically it's looking at yourself. So it's addressing some of those fears and self-sabotaging behaviors that we were talking about earlier in the week, and excuses that we make, because what we're doing is we're stuck in this loop that we're playing. And by doing that shadow work, by calling ourselves out and spotting the different layers and the different things that we have held in our bodies, in our minds, in our psyche from the past, they are able to break free, and they're able to change because we're bringing attention to them, right? We observe it, and so then it just changes and it transforms and it transmutes into something completely different. So shadow work is an amazing tool. Hypnosis. So hypnosis has also been something along my journey that's become very, very useful. I do it in my meditations and just reprogramming things that I'm listening to, either while you sleep So I have a couple of things that I listen to while I sleep, or it can just be a tape of affirmations that you're listening to. It could be binaural beats or solfeggio tones. Those are all good tools to help reprogram those neural pathways and get to a new way of thinking. You can also work with a hypnosis coach or somebody that is a healer that does hypnosis. And they can, I can do sessions to guide you through hypnosis and basically get you onto the other side of reprogramming, because that's what we're focusing on, right? The reprogramming. And then it also ties in with past life regression, inner child work, because when you're doing these tools and doing those tools, I would say it's probably important to work with a healer or somebody that knows what they're doing, because when you're going through the shadow and you're going through the inner child, it's just important to have somebody to hold space for you, because sometimes it's really deep, dark, heavy stuff or it feels heavy. And it's just something that it can be hard to process alone. I work with people even through these things because, I've done a lot of work on my own, but I've also worked with other people that have been able to hold space with me through these things, because it's important that somebody else can guide, but also witness, because we think we're alone, right? When we go through these shadow spaces or these inner child spaces, we think we're the only one that experiences these feelings, but that's just not true. We're all connected and we all have so many of the same experiences. And so when we can speak out about it and somebody else can hold space for us, it helps it to lose its power over us, because when we keep it dark and hidden and locked away, it has power over us and it affects the way that we live our life, the way that we act, the way that we are. It affects everything. So giving a little bit of awareness to those areas and having them be seen, and even be seen and witnessed by somebody else, it just releases them and sets them free. Yes, Amanda, hypnosis is so powerful. I've used it for years. I love it. I almost every night I listen to something, especially when I'm in a space where I know, like, okay, we're reprogramming big time right now. So I'm a firm believer in it. When I first woke up, I guess you could say, I knew, and it was before I found inner child work or shadow work or any of that. So I was just this awake, walking damaged human and didn't know anything about myself. And I knew that I was supposed to think good things about myself, and I knew that I was supposed to have worth and feel these things, but I just didn't. And it was weird. It was like, not weird, it was my subconscious versus my conscious mind. There was a big gap though, and I couldn't merge the two. And so from the Biology of Belief, the seminar that I was telling you about with Dr. Bruce Lipton, one of his big tools is saying to use hypnosis, because that changes your belief system, which in turn changes the structure of your body and your brain and these things, because you're like replaying the same thoughts over and over and over again. And like I said, many thoughts over and over again becomes a belief. So then it's a belief that you build up into your system, and then you finally believe it. And so it really, really, really helped with self-worth until I actually knew what was going on and why I felt feelings of low self-worth, and why I felt misunderstood, and just mostly a lot of unworthiness. And so it helped me to bridge that gap until I was able to go deeper with it. And then, like I said, past life regression. So past life regression is another thing to go through with a healer, someone that can hold space for you, and what that can do. And not all of these tools will be for everybody, but you pick and choose the tools that help you and that work with you. And that's how you fit it kind of to work with you. Because not everybody's stuff is going to be your stuff too. You just have to find what works. I'm just giving you guys tools and things that I have really enjoyed doing over the years that have really, really helped me to expand. So past life regressions, you want to work with a healer and somebody that can hold space for you. But basically it goes into karmic ties, karmic loops, and basically just energy that we're carrying in with us from parallel lives, from other lifetimes, and it's stuck energy. And when we're able to go through whatever those lives were and sometimes you can get images yourself, you'll get downloads, or sometimes your healer will get downloads and they will help to guide you through whatever it is. And bringing awareness to those lives, again, it's the same thing. You are observing it, you're letting it know, I see you. I see you. And then what it does is it releases the hold and the energy that surrounds it, and it creates freedom, and it helps you to release some of that stuck energy where it feels like you really just hit a wall. And I find a lot of times in my life when I am really in a place that something is super, super, super difficult for me to get past, and it feels like I'm hitting a brick wall and I'm just banging my head against the wall over and over again, it's usually karmic and from a past life. I did a video on this. It's in the group, if you want to scroll back and you can see it. It's basically cutting karmic cords and talking about that. And I do a meditation at the end. You can go through if that's something that interests you. It's free. It's just in the group. So past life regression, meditation. Meditation has been something that has drastically changed my life. And I'm not always perfect at it at all. It's totally a practice, just like yoga, just like living, just like any other thing that you do in your life. It's a practice. Breathing, all of it. I remember when I'll go up and down with the ways that I meditate. So sometimes I can be so tapped in and I'm just like really connected, and I can just meditate straight on my own for an hour. Just acting, it doesn't even feel like I left. I come back and it's like, oh my gosh, it was an hour. And then sometimes I try to meditate for 2 minutes and it feels like the longest, most straining 2 minutes in the world. But the point is that I practice it and I do it because it's not always going to be easy. Like I was saying last week, I keep wanting to do that. Yesterday, is our mind, we're not always the same every day, and we really have to respect and honor that our minds, that our bodies, that our feelings are always going to be in a different place, and we really have to take time to sit and observe with where we're at. So meditation can kind of help with that. And it's I forget, there's a quote that's like, if you have no time to meditate, then you should probably meditate for 3 hours or whatever the timing was. Because it's true, when it's hardest is when you're supposed to do it most, because that's when you need it. And when you're building those small foundational blocks, so even if you can't meditate for an hour, but you just try to meditate for 5 minutes in between lunch break or whatever, like it's making a difference. You're adding to those small little steps to make up the bigger version of you. And it gets easier with anything, like with anything else. The more you practice it, the better at it you get, the better you get at shutting things out and focusing in on one thing, your breath, your intention, whatever it is, and it gets easier. And this helps to relieve that chatter that's going on up here, the chatter that brings up your fears, the chatter that brings up your emotions and your excuses and your shadow stuff. So when you meditate, it helps you to calm the mind. And so then you're not so relationally, like, what am I trying to say? You're not so committed to like whatever that idea is that's going on into your head. You don't feel so identified with it. There you go. That's what I want to say. So you don't identify so strongly with whatever that is, that loop that's playing in your mind, because you were able to step back and be the observer of it and not even think about it. And then it comes to you in a totally different perspective because you're more tapped into the divine. You have more intuitive wisdom and guidance. Okay, I love this one. Okay, so this tool is great, and I've been using this in so many different ways, and it's super fun. You can play with it, but find expanders. So I touched on this a little bit, I think like one of the days, but just a tad bit. So an expander is, who are the people in your life or in fame or that you've just seen on Instagram or social media or Facebook or whatever it is, who are doing what you want to do, but started where you're currently at. And you can find expanders for everything. You can find relationship expanders. You can find career expanders. You can find people that got their dream home expanders. You can find people that live their dream life expanders. And everybody wants something different. So there's different expanders that just are a range of all different types of things. And so you use these expanders that relate to you, that make you feel, it's those ones that you just get a connection feeling with, that you're like, yeah, I really vibe with this person and I like what they're about. That's an expander for you. On the flip side, expanders can also be the people who you feel immense jealousy and envy for. If you feel jealous or envious of somebody, that is a telltale sign that they are probably one of your biggest expanders, because you are craving to live however it is that they're living. And so it comes off in a shadowy way, right? With the jealousy and the enviness and enviousness. And so it's like the shadow side of yourself, but really what you're saying is like, I vibe with you. I really like the way that you live your life, and I want to live a life similar to that as well. And when you can flip it, the perspective, right, and see that there's someone who really, really embodies what you want to embody, and then you know they've been where you've been and they've got to where you want to get, so it's possible for you too, then you can just be excited for them and know that it can happen for you too, and use that as a stepping stone for your belief system, right? Because if you can see it, you can believe it. So then that transpires to connect in your brain that like, okay, I've seen it. I know it's possible now. It's just like, have you ever seen that there's been like, you know, people will like break a world record, and before somebody broke that world record, they're like, oh, humans can't do that. It's just not possible. And then somebody does it, but then like 6 other people across the world do it also. It's because of that belief factor. So when someone hears that somebody else did something that was pushing the limits of being a human, they're like, oh, fuck that. I got that too. Absolutely. If this other human could do it over there, I can absolutely do it too. So think of it in that way, that these expanders, whether like I said, it's a relationship expander, a career expander, dream home expander, you know, whatever it is, you can find an expander for anything. So start keeping your eyes peeled and see who are those people that really help you to envision life in a bigger place than where your limiting beliefs have held you to before. Another really, really, really great way to move past a lot of this stuff so that you can create the life of your dreams is to work with a coach. Invest in yourself. Like I said, working with coaches is something that I've done for a very long time. Spiritual teachers, gurus, like I've been consistently investing in myself for years. And I can tell you that it's a big part of how I got from A to B and keep continuously moving forward with momentum, because I keep investing in myself and I keep picking people who expand me to continue expanding myself and keep going. I do programs, whatever it is that you feel aligned with, that really calls to you. And then the thing is too, is that like a lot of people will put up blocks for themselves because they're like, oh, well, like finances are tight and like I'm really busy right now and da-da-da-da. Hello, shadow. That is your shadow making up excuses because you are still holding on onto fears that are preventing you from expanding and growing. Because the fact of the matter is, you can figure it out. Whenever I have made a leap and done something that was like semi-scary, but it was like a commitment that I knew I needed to do for myself, I have not ever regretted it. And if it was something that was expanding me. And then also, not even to mention, once I make that commitment into myself, you would not believe the type of abundance that shows up for you because you're magnetizing yourself. You're bringing more into you. And so I have never, you know, whenever I've had to take a leap for something, especially financially, I've always realized like, wow, I actually, even if it was like when my beliefs were like weak, right up to the line where it was like, I have to pay this bill and it's due in like 2 days. And then it's like, you know, 5 to 10 hours before the bill's due, like money cut, like I find a way to get the money. And it's like, wow. But then I like stressed that whole time leading up to it. And I just had to keep building that trust muscle. A really good way to build this trust muscle is to start acknowledging the ways that you're receiving blessings, because so frequently it's easy for us to slip into the perspective of like, nothing ever happens for me. Things are all usually difficult. Like I struggle with this, I struggle with that. Like I can't do this, I can't do that. But even down to minimal blessings. So keeping track of like when you had surprise money that was given to you, or like, for instance, you're feeling super stressed out and with like work or whatever, and then like your boss hits you up and they're like, hey, actually, so I don't really need you this upcoming day, but I'm gonna pay you for the time off anyway, and you like needed a break. Like just little blessings like that. And they show up everywhere when you really start noticing them. Again, back to the analogy where it's like if you have a green Honda and you never really noticed green Hondas before, but you get one or you want one, and then you start seeing them everywhere. So when you start calling out your blessings and you start calling out your little miracles, your day-to-day miracles still exist. We just don't acknowledge them anymore because we're so used to this fast-paced society where we have instant gratification that we don't consider anything a miracle anymore. Whereas back in the day when things were moving so much slower and there was like so much more life or death like happenings, like it wasn't like, it was like a miracle because they didn't see much of that, or when they did see it, they were able to honor it because things were moving slower. They had more appreciation, more gratitude. Whereas now, like, fucking medicine is a miracle. Like, people like doing things to like save their lives is a miracle. Like all these things that exist around us, but we just don't acknowledge it. So when we can start to change that perspective and acknowledge it, then we're creating more of that magnetism in our life to create the life of our dreams. How are you going to get the life of your dreams if you can't even be grateful for the life that you have? Just saying. So working with a coach, like I said, that's super important. I do that. Repetition. Seriously, consistency is so key. And I know I've said this over and over and over again, but I really want you guys to understand it is the most important thing, because if you have nothing to build off of, if you have no foundation or nothing to fall back on, no routine, no upward trajectory movement, like it's gonna crumble. It's like building your house on the sand as opposed to rock, where it will be stable and have grounding foundation. It will crumble and then you will feel like you're burnt out and in a cycle where you have to completely build back up from nothing again. And it feels defeating when you have to do that. But when you're taking these little steps and you're celebrating your wins and you're looking at what you're grateful for and you're jumping back on the horse again and you're taking the little steps that are manageable to you, making those little micro promises to yourself in order to get to those macro promises, then you are building off of something that you can keep going off of, and you can consistently fall back on what you've already built. You're not going to go all the way to nothing again. Again, slow and steady wins the race. So what are the short-term goals that you can make? We have the list of what your maybe long-term or your bigger goals are because it's your dream life, but what are the micro goals that you can make that are going to help you get closer and closer to that dream life? Action steps, right? Remember to be gentle with yourself. Above all, there's no reason, and I have to remind myself this on a daily basis because I am my own worst critic. I take all these voices that go on in my head. I promise I'm not schizophrenic, but that are telling me all different types of things, right? About like negative, like, oh, you can't do this and you don't do this right and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like literally like, well, do you ever, you know how like, I guess, what was it? Either Catholicism or Christianity, like way back in the day, they would like flog themselves when they sinned or whatever. I know you know what I'm talking about. They would have like the 7 whip thing and they would just like beat myself. That's like what I do to myself sometimes when I'm being so hard on myself for not being wherever it is that I feel like I'm supposed to be or not doing whatever it is that I think I'm supposed to do. And that creates resistance. And the more resistance that you create for yourself, the longer it's going to take for you to get to your goals. What I've been discovering more and more every day about myself, and it's like I said, it's that spiral. So I'm moving layer by layer very slowly up to the top and realizing more and more like, wow, yeah, that really doesn't serve me to act that way. And I probably should just surrender and let go and actually like just be gentle with myself and love myself where I'm at, and know that because I set this intention into the ethers and that I said that this is something that I was going to bring towards me, and I'm creating actionable steps towards it, and I'm acting as though I'm receiving it, that it's coming to me, and that I need to stop stressing because I don't need to know the details. I don't need to know how it's coming to me. I don't really need to know when it's coming to me because it's gonna happen in divine timing since I am putting the footwork in to get there. And so having that faith factor of knowing that it is happening for you. And so that's building, like I said, your trust muscle, and also really tapping into that spiritual connection, whether it's with nature, whether it's with Buddha, whether it's with God, Jesus, whoever it's with, building that strong connection and knowing like, okay, I'm taken care of. My guides are here. I create stress and worry in my life, and energy is just energy. I'm the one that creates the stress and the worry. Me in this human form. I create stress, I create worry, and then my body gets into this like physical unfit state, right? And then I'm creating the resistance, so I'm blocking abundance towards that's already coming towards me. I'm blocking it and making it take longer because I'm creating these crazy loops that I keep running through. I'm running through insanity, right? So before you know it, the little changes and the little habits, they lead up to those quantum leaps. So it's, like I said before, it starts to move quicker. When you're making those little steps, it feels hard at first. It feels like it's taking forever and it's strenuous. But when you can practice patience and just keep doing the next right thing, moving one foot in front of the other, then guess what? It's gonna start happening faster and more and bigger and better. And before you know it, you're making a quantum leap into your new self. So I really like this quote. It's by Lao Tzu. He was an amazing spiritual teacher, and he said, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step." And I think that this is super important to remember because it's just one step, and then it's one step at a time, preceding the next, and preceding the next, until you look back and you realize that you've journeyed at least 1,000 steps or more. So when we come to this earth, I've said this before, but we are innately abundant. Abundance is our birthright, and it's literally about unlearning everything that we have programmed in ourselves since childhood, being here on this earth, whether that was from our parents, our environment, the news, whatever it was that we learned that blocks us from this abundance. We have to unlearn that. We wouldn't receive these desires from the universe. It wouldn't pop in our heads. We're creators, right? So if it pops in our head, we can do it. If you can believe it, you can conceive it. So it is happening. You just have to allow it to happen. There would be no reason that you'd be getting these desires if you couldn't make it happen for yourself. And you're worthy of it. You're capable of bringing whatever into your life that you want to bring into your life. And you're so worthy of living the life of your dreams. We all are, because we're all abundant. And like I said, let's just bring the whole team up. Let's all get up there. So we're going to end with, and then I'm going to talk a little bit, but with a healing meditation using Aquarian fire, Reiki, breath, and we're going to affirm and activate that the abundance and worth within us to create the life we desire. So we're affirming and activating the abundance and worth within us to create the life that we desire. Affirming and activating the abundance and worth within us to create the life that we desire. So get yourself into a settled place, nice, tall, straight spine. And whether you're sitting or lying down, that's fine. Just intend to open yourself up to receiving. And I'm going to intend that a gift will come to you. So keep your eyes open, and that gift can come in many, many different ways. It doesn't have to look like what you think it's going to look like, and maybe it does. But pay attention and make sure you take note of whatever that gift is that's coming to you, because then more and more will start coming. Let's take a deep breath in together. Exhale, release. One more breath in together. Inhale. Exhale, release. And I'm just going to give a light language blessing, and then we'll go into a meditative place while I send energy. Ijna utriya taraki onko eleveria ko oya tegala hadriya torko sata antri te ko leya drega antrko shitri parko oya sata ka antki o kadriya avol ko oya reka ankadri ko oya drasatki o dra haya dana kaya dri. Let's take a deep breath in together. You can wiggle your fingers and toes as you start to come back into your body and into the space. Open your eyes when you are ready. So again, I know I said this pretty much every day, but thank you so much for everybody that participated and joined in this challenge. It was seriously so motivating for me to do this, and I really had a lot of fun doing it. Again, I'm offering this coaching program, the Coaching Chakra series, and it's working through the shadow and the chakras, and we're spotting blocks, limiting beliefs and fears that are holding us back from creating the life that we desire, just bringing in the abundance and expanding in the ways that we want to, whatever things are holding us back. And so we go through archetypal activations within each chakra. It's an 8-week-long program, and typically it's $3,500 to work with me for those 8 weeks. But for everybody that was a part of this challenge, I'm giving a 30% discount. So it's only going to be $2,450, and I do offer payment plans. So if you seriously want to work with me or listen to more about the program, you can book a 30-minute discovery call with me, and we can talk about it more. It's really life-changing, it's really transformational, and it's definitely, it takes you into the next space of your life. It's 2 months long of working through this stuff. And I give you tons of tools and my support and holding space and my healing energy and all of that. So only 3 spaces for that, and then that's it, and then the offer is closed. So if that's something you're seriously considering, please reach out to me. And I love you guys so incredibly much, and I hope that this challenge was useful and helpful to you. And if anybody has any questions, I'm available. Just reach out at any point. I love you all. Bye. Ciao.